Is there a bloodline that proves the existence of a mysterious hybridization event? Some independent researchers believe so. According to this extraordinary hypothesis, people with Rh-negative blood would have a direct genetic connection to ancient ancestors whose origins remain unknown. But what is so special about this blood group, and what sets it apart from all the others? And why would this be considered proof of an ancient genetic manipulation project? Recently, the Rh-negative factor and its possible implications have been discussed frequently online, giving rise to various theories. Today, we will embark on a journey to the limits of knowledge and explore possible extraordinary hypotheses. But before we set out on this fascinating journey, if you haven't done so already, we invite you to subscribe to the channel to support our work and not miss our new videos. Blood, the fluid that carries life and flows through our veins, holds within it secrets and mysteries that tell a story as old as time. Among the unresolved enigmas is certainly the blood type known as Rh-negative. Only a very small percentage of the world's population possesses this unique trait, which, along with other characteristics we will discuss in this video, has captured the imagination of many researchers and given rise to myths, theories, and speculations. To understand why some see the Rh-negative blood type as proof of an ancient event of genetic manipulation, we must first understand what it means to have this type of blood. And to do so, we need to go back in time to the early 1900s. In 1901, Carl Landsteiner discovered the existence of blood groups. His discovery revolutionized transfusion medicine, providing for the first time a scientific explanation for the adverse reactions that occurred after blood transfusions. Before Landsteiner's discovery, blood transfusions were risky procedures, often with fatal outcomes, as the existence of incompatible blood groups was unknown. Landsteiner identified that the red blood cells of some people would agglutinate when mixed with the serum of others. He classified human blood into 3 groups, which he named A, B, and O. A few years later, 2 of his colleagues, Alfred von de Castello and Adriano Sturley, discovered a 4th group, which they named AB. This classification is based on the presence or absence of antigens on the surface of specific red blood cells. In 1937, researchers Carl Landsteiner and Alexander Wiener added a new category by discovering the Rh factor. Their goal was to better understand the basis of blood compatibility and incompatibility. During experiments with the blood of primates, particularly the rhesus macaque, Landsteiner and Wiener encountered a new antigen, which they found present in some blood samples. This antigen caused an immune reaction when blood containing it, later identified as Rh positive, was transfused into an organism lacking it, identified as Rh negative. The discovery of the Rh factor helped explain certain previously mysterious conditions, such as hemolytic disease of the newborn. This occurs when an Rh-negative mother is pregnant with an Rh-positive fetus. The positive factor is inherited from the father. The mother's immune system may then produce antibodies against the Rh-positive red blood cells of the embryo, which can cross the placenta and destroy the fetus's red blood cells, leading to anemia, jaundice, hydrops fatalis, and, in severe cases, death. To recap, following the ABO and Rh-positive, Char-negative classification, there are 8 main blood groups: A positive and negative, B positive and negative, AB positive and negative, and O positive and negative. But if there are multiple blood groups, what makes Rh-negative so mysterious? Rh-negative blood is puzzling because it seems to have evolved from a different evolutionary line compared to other blood groups. Mainstream science believes that the AB and O blood groups are the most ancient, present since humanity's origins. Rh-negative blood, however, is thought to have appeared later, in a relatively recent period, around 30,000 to 40,000 years ago, during the Upper Paleolithic. But the reasons for its sudden emergence remain unknown. Of course, human blood, like any part of our DNA, is subject to genetic mutations. However, unlike many other genes in our DNA, those related to blood seem much more stable than other genetic material. Mutations that alter blood groups are less common and are subject to stricter selection, since any mutation in blood can jeopardize the survival of the species. This is evident, for example, in hemolytic disease of the newborn, when an Rh-positive mother gives birth to an Rh-negative child inherited from the father. When this happens, the mother's immune system can see the fetus as a foreign body and attack it. For some independent researchers, this is evidence of a distant past hybridization event between a mysterious population carrying this unusual factor and early hominids. So how did they arrive at this conclusion? One clue lies in its geographical distribution. The presence of Rh-negative blood varies significantly between populations. For example, it is relatively more common in Europe, particularly among the Basques, and much less common in Africa and Asia. Rh-negative blood is a minority trait worldwide, but in certain regions, it is mysteriously more prevalent. The most notable case is the Basque region, straddling Spain and France, where up to 30% of the population carries the trait, compared to a European average of 15% and a global average of 3%. The Rh-negative factor is not the only mysterious feature of the Basque people. Another is their culture and language, which seem to have an origin distinct from all other European languages and cultures, making the Basques both a genetic and cultural enigma. These peculiarities have drawn the attention of many researchers investigating the possible origin of this people. Among the many hypotheses proposed over the years, one is particularly fascinating. The Basques might be direct descendants of the legendary people of Atlantis, or rather of the few survivors of the cataclysm that swallowed the mythical island continent. But what do the Basques and their genetic peculiarity have to do with the island described by Plato? As we mentioned, the Basques have a unique, unrelated language and a high prevalence of a mysterious genetic anomaly in their blood. These traits have led some scholars to seek similarities with other populations around the world, and the surprises didn't take long to appear. Some researchers claim to have found clear similarities between the Basque language and those of certain indigenous South American peoples, with precise common elements. Adding to this is another intriguing detail. These populations also show a higher than average prevalence of the Rh-negative factor compared to other groups in their regions. But how could these populations have come into contact thousands of years ago? As far as we know, it should have been impossible. Moreover, the unusual Rh-negative factor has been found in other groups such as the Berbers of Morocco's Atlas Mountains, coastal communities in Wales, Scotland, Ireland, the Netherlands, and the Canary Islands, all located along or near the Atlantic coast where Atlantis is said to have been. Curiously, near the places where these populations live, we find mysterious megalithic remains. The Andean Quechua and Aymara peoples, for example, not only have a higher prevalence of the negative factor, but also live near the enigmatic sites of Tiwanaku and Pumapunku, places that seem to have been built by an ancient and mysterious civilization. Supporters of this theory add yet another fascinating point. Official science places the emergence of the negative factor at around 30,000 to 40,000 years ago, during the Paleolithic. This era is also significant in mythology. The Greek historian Eusebius, citing Manetho, a priest of the Heliopolis temple and keeper of sacred archives, dates the beginning of Egyptian civilization to 30,544 BC. But what do the Egyptians have to do with the Atlanteans? If we go to Egypt and read the inscriptions in the Temple of Edfu, we discover that the ancient Egyptians considered themselves the heirs of divine beings from a place beyond the Pillars of Hercules. These divine beings were said to have founded civilization and created humankind. Indeed, it was Plato himself during his time in Egypt who learned from Egyptian priests the ancient story of Atlantis, which he later recounted in his famous dialogues. In that sea beyond the Pillars of Hercules, there was an island larger than Libya and Asia combined. From that island, one could reach other islands, and from them, an entire continent stretching in front of them, surrounding the true sea. But following violent earthquakes and floods, in a single day and night of misfortune, the island of Atlantis disappeared beneath the sea, and from then on, it became impossible to sail there. Is it possible, then, that a genetic trace of this ancient people has survived to this day, visible in the mysterious Rh-negative blood group? According to some researchers, this is precisely the case. The Rh negative blood group would be proof of the existence in the distant past of another species that evolved separately from humans. Humans, in this view, would be the result of hybridization between members of this advanced civilization, described in myths as gods, and the hominids living on Earth at the time. Of course, this is a fascinating idea, but it must be taken with a grain of salt. As regular viewers of our videos know, we consider the existence of ancient advanced civilizations quite plausible. But in this case, the theory should be treated cautiously, as there are no definitive studies to confirm or disprove it. Regarding the origin of Rh-negative blood, for the sake of completeness, we should note that many other theories and hypotheses exist. Some say that people with this blood group possess specific traits such as higher than average intelligence or unexplained supernatural abilities, or that it is a characteristic of royal families or those in power. But for now, no solid evidence or precise documentation supports these claims. What we can say for certain is that negative blood groups remain a mystery, and their origin is still not fully understood by science and remains under study. Whether it is the result of a random mutation thousands of years ago, which, despite its potential problems, has survived until today, or the remnant of extraordinary events in the distant past, we cannot help but be fascinated by the thought that in our veins flows a part of our history that has yet to be written. We are truly curious to explore this topic further with you and hear your opinion. Write in the comments what you think, and if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel to support our work. See you in the next story. Hi, I'm John. Our journey into mystery continues. If you want to uncover more hidden truths and answers to the greatest enigmas, leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Together we'll explore the unknown, and who knows what secrets we'll find.